GBS.
Thank you for joining GPS News at 9. My name is Stephen George, and our sign language interpreter tonight is Paul Madenge. And now, in our top story, President William Ruto today hosted leaders from Western Kenya at State House, Nairobi, for discussions on key development projects aimed at accelerating economic growth in the region. The meeting focused on strengthening agricultural value chains, particularly boosting fertilizer uptake to enhance food production. Reviving the struggling sugar and coffee sectors also took center stage as the government seeks to restore profitability and sustainability in these industries. Now, the meeting brought together high-ranking government officials, including Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, the National Assembly Speaker Moses Wetangula, and Cabinet Secretaries Wycliffe Oparanya for the Cooperatives and MSMES, and Deborah Mulungo of Health, Governors Fernandez Baraza of Kakamega County, Kenneth Lusaka, Bungoma County, and Paul Otuoma, Governor of Busia County, along with members of Parliament, were also in attendance.
Ningependa kuwashukuru kwa sababu ya vile tumeshirikiana. Over the last couple of months, we have brought different teams together. And because we have brought different teams together under the broad-based arrangement, we are making steady progress in the right direction. Specifically, the items I thought I should mention to you as people's representatives, and areas that you need to focus so that we can use the infrastructure of government to drive the development of our country.
President William Ruto has today nominated Mbere Member of Parliament Godfrey Kiringa Ruku as the new Public Service Cabinet Secretary, replacing Justin Muturi. The announcement made by Chief of Staff Felix Koskei follows months of tensions between Ruto and Muturi, who had publicly criticized the government of abductions and killings of Gen Z protesters, including his son in 2024. Now into our next story. President William Ruto has condemned recent directives by church organizations that limit political speeches in places of worship, warning that such restrictions could undermine religious freedom. Speaking during an iftar dinner at State House, Nairobi on Tuesday night, Ruto emphasized the importance of faith in national unity and governance. He urged religious leaders to uphold the right to worship without imposing unnecessary barriers, stating that Kenya's status as a religious nation should not be taken for granted. His comments come in response to the National Council of Churches of Kenya, which recently introduced measures barring politicians from addressing congregants and restricting public recognition of their donations. The Anglican Church of Kenya has also taken a firm stance against political engagements within church premises, which Archbishop Jackson Ole Sapit insisting that even Ruto himself would not be exempted. The firm directive aims to separate politics from worship and maintain religious spaces as neutral grounds.
A nation that doesn't have God in its equation is a nation that has no future. And I am very proud as president of this country that I lead a religious nation. And I want to tell you that we must never take it for granted that we have the freedom of worship in Kenya, and that we can worship God however we want. There are countries who do not have the privilege that we have. There are countries where religion is under pressure from politicians and from public policy. We are proud that in Kenya, we share our religion freely and we work together.
Former Premier Raila Odinga and Martha Karua have met for the first time in public since 2022 and the formation of a broad-based government. The two leaders, who sought for presidency in a joint ticket in 2022 but lost to President William Ruto, have been reading from different scripts after Odinga chose to form a broad-based government with President William Ruto, as Karua chose to remain in opposition. The two leaders today met at a burial of Julius Laban Murungi in Chugoria, as Davis Karani reports.
Honorable Martha Karua and Raila Odinga have not been reading from the same script since the formation of a broad-based government, which, according to Karua, is oppressing Kenyans due to high taxation at the time which the nation is battling with high cost of living.
Last season, I campaigned with Baba and I helped to enter the mountain amidst great hostility. But I want to agree also that it is the right of those who feel that broad-based is the way to go. It is also our right to disagree. And that is why I firmly remain in the opposition.
Karua's statement, which seems to have been directly channeled to Odinga after saving the Kenya Kwanza administration from the Gen Z rat by agreeing to form a broad-based government, were fully objected by the leaders who were present in the burial ceremony of Julius Murugi, stating that Odinga was destined for Kenya to prosper.
Raila Amolo Odinga did not come to broad-based government to save people from this region. Raila Amolo Odinga came to broad-based government to save this country. Nimesikiza dadangu Martha Karua akisema we are going to condemn abductions. Yes. Even some of us who are in government, we have condemned abductions. We are going to condemn corruption and all those things. Let us condemn all those things. And let us support everything. But let us not return this country to tribal divisions.
Martha Karua and Raila Odinga are currently working differently in the political stage, though in 2022 were a duo that stood together aiming to unseat the then President Uhuru Kenyatta using the Azimio coalition.
Leo ni leo.
They say in politics, everything is possible. Davis Karani, GBS News, Nairobi.
The Court of Appeal has suspended a High Court ruling that declared President William Ruto's university funding model unconstitutional and discriminatory. A three-judge bench, Justices Patrick Hiage, Weldon Korir, and Joel Ngugi, directed the Attorney General, the Higher Education Loans Board, that's its HELB, and the trustees of the university's fund to establish and publicize an appeal mechanism within 14 days for students aggrieved by funding decisions. The court also ruled that students must be informed that the funding model is under legal challenge and may change depending on the appeal's outcome. The government introduced the variable scholarship and loan funding model in 2023, replacing the previous uniform funding system. The new model categorizes students into 5 financial bands based on their family's income, with those from higher income households receiving fewer scholarships and more loans. However, Justice Chacha Mwita annulled the model in December, citing a lack of public participation and potential discrimination. He urged that classifying students by family earnings introduce unfair distinctions, as taxation and other economic factors affect affordability beyond income brackets. The state insists the model is fair, saying it ensures targeted financial aid to the most vulnerable students. Now, officials argue that application data is digitally assessed to determine funding levels based on financial need. However, Justice Mwita ruled that the model lacked a clear legal framework and accountability measures. Under the suspended ruling, the government was prohibited from implementing the funding model, but the appeal has now given it temporary interim relief until a final decision is reached.
The Deputy Vice Chancellor for you to deliver my inaugural address on this very occasion. And the steadfast pursuit of excellence in higher education.
Well, it is time for us to take a short break. Keep your feedback streaming on our social media platform at GBS TV Africa. The semester line is 244. We'll be right back.
But then one day, I thought, I'm definitely going to go to hell. So I began to read the Bible a lot. Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Ruth. And as I kept reading the Bible, something amazing was that each of the words inside the Bible began to live inside me. This is really amazing.
Everywhere, GBS.
Welcome back. Who will be the next Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission chief? This is the question that Kenyans are now asking after Dr. Nelson Makanda's selection panel concluded public interviews today for the 11 shortlisted candidates seeking to fill the vacancy left by the late Wafula Chebukati.
The last three cohorts seeking to become the next chief for the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, were interviewed today. In the morning hours, Lilian Wanjiku Munegene, a women's rights lawyer, appeared before the Dr. Nelson Makanda selection panel at the College of Insurance in South Sea, Nairobi. Major concern to the panel was her priority once she becomes the IEBC chair.
If you get favor in with this panel and you are put as the chair of the IEBC, what will be your priority things in terms of preparation before the 2027 general elections?
It is important to have to start immediately, and I would suggest, of course, to my team that we start with massive voter registration, with educating the voter as to why they need to register, how to register, and their civic duty to vote. I would also be looking at the budget required for the 2027 general election. The other issue that is running through our minds is the border issue. We know we are already out of time.
Secretary General FC Leopards 2009 to 2011 and FKF Deputy President 2011 to 2016.
Then Robert Asembo followed. Scandals during his tenure as the AFC Leopard Secretary General came forth to haunt him.
One among them is that during your tenure as a FKF Vice Chair, there was a lot of misappropriation of funds. Can you highlight a few issues on that and maybe bring to the public what really transpired?
Thank you. I believe that was a misconception. We never faced any accusations of misuse of funds. The funds we receive are always accountable. If they are FIFA funds at FKF, we account them per FIFA standards. They send international auditors, and FIFA would actually take sanctions against an official who misappropriates such funding from FIFA, including being banned from football-related activities as one of their sanctions. I have never been banned, and none of my office colleagues at the time has ever been banned.
The interview was closed after the former Nzoia Sugar Company Chief Executive Officer Saul Simiu Wasilwa sat on the hot seat.
How many hours do you think it should take with all the technology we have, with everything that IEBC is aspiring to be, and with the transformation that you have told us here you will do when you become the chair, if you're successful? What should we expect from you to announce? What time should we expect the announcement of results to be?
Thank you for that question. Let me start by saying this, that the problem in the past has been that we take a long time to announce results. And this is basically because sometimes we are relying on technology that will fail because we're using one dedicated line to transmit all results to the tallying center. There'll be jams along the way. There'll be gridlocks along the way. That's why I'm having this proposal that instead of using one line of communication to relay results from every part of this country, let's have a dedicated virtual machine for each ward. And that way we avoid the gridlock, we avoid the jam, so that results are released faster. And if that becomes the case, then if polls close at 5 o'clock, or if there's been an extension, they go on up to about 6 or 7 o'clock, I expect that if these measures are put in place, we should have all the results at the National Tallying Center by about 9 o'clock.
And as Wasilwa exits the stage, now the ball is on the selection panel's court to come up with one suitable name of the one who will steer the IBC. Victor Ujin, DBS News at now.
Great Victor Odun, Kirinyaga leaders led by County Assembly Speaker Honorable Mutete Murimi have extended a warm welcome to President William Ruto ahead of his anticipated visit to the region. Speaking during a medical camp in their constituency, Murimi called on residents to receive the president positively, emphasizing that his visit should prioritize the completion of ongoing projects alongside launching new initiatives as previously promised.
As the resident of Kirinyaga, we welcome the visit of by the president to the county of Kirinyaga specifically. We've seen great partnership between the national government and the county government that we serve. If you go to Sagana, our industrial park is construction of our industrial park and SEZ is ongoing, and we are hopeful that the president will be coming again now to officially hand over keys to our investors so that we can now start doing value addition, because one of our political key agenda when we are campaigning and what we promise the people of Kirinyaga is agro processing through manufacturing.
Atakuja azizindue miradi mpya. Kwanza kabisa amalize miradi ambayo ilianzishwa na Rais mstaafu Uhuru Kenyatta wakiwa na akina PS Maringa, akina PS Kibisho. Walifanya kazi mzuri sana huku Kerugoya na hata Kirinyaga, wakajenga mabarabara, wakafanya hizi stima last mile, wakafanya street lighting na mambo mzuri, lakini hizo miradi hazikukamilika. Kwa hivyo ni vizuri rais akikuja akirudisha hawa wanakandarasi wa China wenye walikuwa nafanya zile miradi, awarudishe tu, awalipe pesa, warudi site.
Kenyan police officer, part of the International Security Force in Haiti, has gone missing after an attack by suspected gang members. The incident occurred while the officer was assisting Haitian police during a routine operation. Specialized search teams have been deployed to locate the missing officer amid growing concerns for their safety.
A Kenyan police officer deployed as part of an international security force in Haiti has gone missing after an assault by suspected gang members. The incident occurred on Tuesday in the town of Port Sonde, while the officer and other members of the multinational security force were assisting a vehicle from the Haitian National Police that had become stuck in a ditch. As the rescue teams worked to free the vehicle, gang members who had been lying in wait launched a sudden attack. The multinational security force, including Kenyan officers, responded swiftly, but the officer was reported missing in the aftermath of the ambush. The Kenyan National Police Service confirmed the officer's disappearance and stated that specialized teams have been dispatched to search for the missing individual. Despite growing concerns, the Kenyan National Police Service remains committed to its mission in Haiti. While some have called for the officers to return home, the police have emphasized that their personnel are dedicated to the security mission and will continue to support efforts in restoring order and combating violence. The global community is watching closely as the mission continues its work in one of the world's most dangerous regions. Reporting for GBS News, Irene Juguna.
Siaya County has procured 72 tons of fertilizer and 40 tons of maize seed for distribution to farmers at subsidized rates. County Executive Committee member for Agriculture Sylvester Okoth has announced speaking at Karemo Chiefs Camp during a seed distribution event. Okoth said the initiative targets 10,500 farmers across the county of the 6 constituencies to boost food production. Under the program, farmers can access certified maize seeds at 400 shillings per 2 kilogram packet and top dressing fertilizer at 600 per kilogram bag. Now, additionally, the county is distributing 3 tons of sorghum seeds and 2.5 tons of green gram seeds. K. Okoth urged farmers to take advantage of the program, emphasizing that the James Orengo-led administration has allocated 30 million shillings for the subsidy this financial year.
Is yet another day when we are doing distribution of subsidized fertilizer and certified seeds to farmers across the 30 wards of Siaya County. A subsidy program is one of our key programs in the Department of Agriculture and is captured in our County Integrated Development Plan under the social enterprise pillar of our CIDP, where we are keen on making sure that our households in Siaya are food and nutrition secure. Because most of our farming communities are smallholder farmers, we have realized that some of them are vulnerable groups who may not afford the cost of buying certified seeds and the cost of buying fertilizer and other inputs that would make them
It is time for us to take a short break. Keep your feedback streaming into our social media platform at GBS TV Africa. The SMS line is 214. We'll be right back.
How to avoid food poisoning. Tips to prevent foodborne illness. You'll need sealable containers, a cutting board, antibacterial soap, lemon juice or vinegar. Step 1. Check the dates of the food products before buying and before cooking. Step 2. Store food in the recommended temperatures to keep them fresh. Step 3. Discard any food that smells or looks questionable. Step 4. Separate meat and vegetables at storage. Step 5. Use plastic chopping boards and not wooden ones. Bacteria can get trapped in wooden bowls. Step 6. Wash your hands thoroughly with antibacterial soap before handling food or after handling meat. Step 7. Refrigerate leftovers within 2 hours of cooking.
Today, it's that day that I would like us just to have that conversation on monthly matters.
Let's talk of Mama Fua, who like akifanya shughuli zake hapa kule has more or less that amount.
Yeah, so on that part, I would say this. When you are doing your savings, you can have, we normally talk about having 3 buckets. So we will just talk about income, budgeting, saving, and investment. Those are the 4 areas we will look at.
Happens to those like me who are planning to retire early.
We are basically looking at our incomes. We also talk about savings and investment. So those are the 3. I will not add the 4th one, which we all shy of talking about. So I would say it's not how much I am earning, but it is how much I set aside. So
we are going to be talking about goal setting itself and building resilience. Goal setting and building resilience.
So hawezi sema nita set goal then someone else akuja kuwork on the goal. Hawezi sema uta set goal yenyewe mwenyewe huwezi reach. Hawezi sema uta set goal na mali una stand like huwezi reach ile goal umeset.
Just imagine I've promised someone that I will do something to them by the end of this year, and then surely I fail. What will happen? You know, they will say Steve has broken my heart.
Nimeset hata mimi goals, but ni realistic goals.
Unajua aje ni realistic?
Because najua I'm capable of, like, they're realistic. They're making sense. Sijasema nanunua V8 by the end of the year. But because I know inaweza kuwa impossible because mtu anaangalianga. Siku make tu. Unajua utaandika. By December 31st nataka kuwa na iPhone 16 Pro.
It is insane to do the same thing and expect different results. Yeah, so definitely we need to see, like, if it is not working, what is in this system that is making this thing fail, and I'm expecting these results. How can I improve this project?
The goals that you set, maybe ukiona like maybe that can be affected by kitu huwezi avoid.
About self-competition. I'm only in competition with the person I see in the mirror, and that is me. So it is about my personal development.
It's not just a matter of writing and putting and now waiting, you know.
Everywhere, GBS.
And welcome back now to international news. Sudan's ongoing conflict has taken a new toll on humanitarian aid, with the Rapid Support Forces imposing new restrictions on deliveries in regions they control. These moves are intensifying the suffering in famine-stricken areas where displaced families face severe food shortages. Aid organizations are now struggling to navigate increasing bureaucratic hurdles and rising costs, further worsening the country's dire situation.
The Rapid Support Forces in Sudan are imposing new restrictions on aid deliveries in areas under their control, worsening the humanitarian crisis, especially in famine-stricken regions like Darfur. Aid workers report that the RSF is demanding higher fees, overseeing local staff recruitment and blocking access to critical areas, which is further hindering the relief efforts. These actions are part of the RSF's broader strategy to gain international legitimacy and raise funds while it faces military setbacks, particularly as the Sudanese army retakes ground in the capital, Khartoum. The restrictions have led to significant delays in aid reaching affected populations, with the travel permits for humanitarian organizations becoming harder to obtain. The situation is dire in places like Al-Fashir, where displaced families are at risk of starvation. Despite claims from SAHO, the RSF's aid management agency, that it is only following legal procedures, humanitarian groups argue that these actions are worsening the crisis and could signal how the RSF plan to govern if it gains more control over the country. Triza Tiengo, GBS News.
The Academy-winning Palestinian filmmaker was released from Israeli detention on Tuesday after being arrested during a violent raid by Israeli settlers in the occupied West Bank. Hamdan Bilal, co-director of the acclaimed documentary No Other Land, was assaulted by settlers following an incident which they attacked a neighbor's house. The raid marks another violent chapter in the escalating tensions between settlers and Palestinian communities in the region.
Bilal, who was injured during the attack, described the horrifying events that unfolded outside his home. After witnessing the settlers' assault on his neighbors, he was pushed to the ground and verbally harassed by soldiers, who then pointed their guns at him.
What's happened there? I'm just filming 2 shots. And then when I saw the settlers, it's like become more and more and attack, throw stones and destroyed everything. I back to my house because I was so scared if they coming to my family and my kids.
This incident is part of a broader pattern of settler violence in the West Bank, with attacks on Palestinian villages and livestock theft becoming more frequent. Palestinians and human rights activists allege that the Israeli authorities often stand by and fail to intervene. Balal's wife, Lamia, revealed that the settlers had gathered around their house, prompting her husband to step outside to protect it before he was attacked and arrested.
Imagine your family, your kids inside the home, and you need to protect them, okay? You just close the door and you are outside filming what's happening when the soldiers and the settler Shem Tov Losky is coming. Because in that moment, just I was thinking about my family and my kids.
Balal, who won an Oscar for his movie No Other Land, sheds light on the human rights violation the Palestinians in the West Bank faces. The world continues to watch closely, hoping for a resolution that prioritizes human dignity and mutual respect. This is Abdihamid Ali, GBS News.
Turkey rocked by nationwide protest for 7th night as Istanbul mayor's arrest sparked outrage. Opposition parties and human rights groups call for detention politically motivated, while the government denies interference. Clashes with police have led to over 1,000 people being arrested as demonstrators demand justice. The United Nations urges Turkey to protect freedom of speech and assembly.
For the 7th night in a row, protesters filled the streets of Istanbul and other cities in Turkey. The demonstrations began last week after the arrest of Istanbul's mayor, Ekrem İmamoğlu, who is a key rival of President Tayyip Erdogan. A court jailed İmamoğlu on Saturday over corruption charges, which he denies. Critics, including opposition parties and human rights groups, say his arrest is politically motivated. The government insists the judiciary is independent. Hundreds of thousands, mostly students, have joined the protesters, chanting slogans against Erdogan and demanding justice. Erdogan has dismissed the demonstrations, saying they will fade away. He also accused opposition parties of provoking the public.
Kendi pisliklerini kapatmak için gençlerin...
We will not be carried away by cheap politics of cowards who hide behind our youths to cover up their filth.
Sokaklarda terör estirenler.
Those who terrorize our streets and want to turn this country into a place of chaos have nowhere to go.
Girdikleri yol.
The path they have taken is a dead end.
The opposition Republican People's Party has played a major role in organizing rallies. Its leader, Oscar Ozo, has addressed crowds in Istanbul's park. He announced Tuesday's demonstration will be the last there, but promised more rallies in other cities. The CHP plans to launch İmamoğlu's election campaign with a large rally on Saturday. Police have clashed with protesters at night, leading to over 1,400 arrests, including at least 7 journalists. The United Nations has urged Turkey to respect freedom of expression and assembly. Since İmamoğlu's arrest, Turkey's financial markets have suffered, and the central bank has used its reserves to stabilize the currency. Vivian Wanjala, GBS News.
The ongoing conflict in Tigray has caused a setback in the region's fight against HIV, once a model for HIV prevention with a low prevalence rate. Tigray is now facing an increased rates of new infections worsened by the destruction of health infrastructure, widespread sexual violence, and limited access to medical resources.
Tigray, once a leader in the fight against HIV, saw its prevalence drop to 1.4% before the war that began in 2020. However, the conflict between Ethiopia's government and Tigray fighters which involve widespread sexual violence, mass killings and destruction, has reversed these gains. The war severely damaged the region's health system, with most health centers looted or destroyed, leaving 90% of sexual violence survivors without timely medical care. As a result, HIV diagnoses have surged, particularly among children, sexual violence survivors and displaced people.
Their current HIV situation is evident. There has been a significant rise in prevalence compared to the conditions before the war, with the average monthly positivity rate increasing considerably. Additionally, the risk of mother-to-child transmission, which had declined to 0, has changed dramatically. We are now seeing children under the age of 2 who are born HIV positive, a direct result of interrupted access to crucial medication during the conflict.
The situation has been worsened by a shortage of essential medications and the lack of support from international aid. The Trump administration's decision to cut 83% of U.S. aid program globally and the layoff of 5,000 workers hired to combat HIV in Ethiopia have deepened the crisis. The region's health system continues to struggle, leaving many vulnerable individuals with the necessary care to combat the disease. Triza Tiengo, GBS News.
The U.S. has successfully reached a separate agreement with Russia and Ukraine to end attacks in the Black Sea and energy facilities. In return, the U.S. will lift economic restrictions placed upon Russia. However, Ukrainian President Zelensky has stated that the understanding of the maritime ceasefire did not require economic sanctions to be lifted. The president accused Russia of manipulation. Here's more the story.
Negotiators from the U.S., Ukraine, and Russia have reached a breakthrough ceasefire where both warring nations will cease attacking ships in the Black Sea and energy facilities. Though it is not clear when the first ceasefire will start, the Trump administration has signaled that this is the first step towards achieving long-term peace. However, the maritime ceasefire seems to be a fragile one. In the maritime agreement, the U.S. will lift some economic sanctions placed upon Russia. However, Russian envoys have stated that first, the sanctions on agricultural products must be lifted for the ceasefire to be in effect. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has stated that their understanding of the maritime ceasefire did not require sanctions to be lifted. He maintained skepticism towards Russia's willingness to end the war.
I believe that there will be millions of questions. As of today, it sounds like this. Ukraine and Russia does not use weapons against the energy system of the other side.
Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov had this to say.
We will need clear guarantees, and there may be guarantees. Taking into account the sad experience of agreements with Kyiv, guarantees may be the only result of a direct order from the US to Zelensky and his team to do this, and not the other way around.
Meanwhile, Russia conducted large-scale drone attacks in the Ukrainian cities of Kryvyi Rih and Mykolaiv. The drones destroyed buildings without causing any death, with both parties separately agreeing to end attacks on ships. What remains is the question whether Russia or Ukraine will implement the ceasefire without breaking any truce. This is Abdihamid Ali, GBS News.
It is time for your most favorite segment of the show, the sports news. Let's get sporty. Former FIFA President Sepp Blatter and former UEFA President Michel Platini have been acquitted once again in a corruption case that has spanned over a decade. The Swiss Criminal Court cleared the pair of all charges, including fraud, mismanagement, and misappropriation over $2 million FIFA funds. This ruling comes after an appeal against the initial acquittal in 2022, making a decisive win for the two.
Sepp Blatter and Michel Platini have been acquitted for the second time in a corruption case that has lasted more than a decade. The Swiss Criminal Court cleared the former FIFA president and UEFA president of all charges, including fraud, mismanagement, and misappropriation of over $2 million FIFA funds in 2011. This ruling came after an appeal against the initial acquittal in 2022, marking a significant legal victory for both men. Blatter, now 89, was relieved outside the court after the decision. He reflected on the emotional toll the case had taken on him and his family, expressing gratitude for finally having the charges behind him.
I am happy that the pressure that has been weighing on me for over 10 years is now gone. It was a difficult time for me, and now the justice system has finally done what is right and proper. And of course, this is a bigger relief for me, my family, and also for my girlfriend. I still need to get myself together. I'm full of emotions right now, and I can tell you life goes on and things are a little easier.
Platini also expressed satisfaction, declaring that the persecution he faced from FIFA and Swiss prosecutors had ended, restoring his reputation.
Well, I'm relieved, and I say that the prosecution of the FIFA by some Swiss federal prosecutors that lasted 10 years is now completely over. I'm relieved. I have my honor back. I will be at peace now.
While both Blatter and Platini celebrate their victories, the Swiss Attorney General office has hinted at the possibility of appealing to the Swiss Supreme Court. Elvin Muyodi, GBS News.
Well, we have come to the end of the news bulletin. It is always a pleasure having you on board. Let's do this again, same time, same channel. We make your news our business. My name is Stephen George, and our sign language interpreter tonight has been Paul Madenge. Good night.
Everywhere, GBS.